Welcome back to Spoken English Daily. This is a quiet space to build confidence in English, one conversation at a time. Today, we'll practice talking about foods you like using clear and simple listening practice. If you're finding this helpful, please like the video and subscribe. Let's get started. Hi, I'm Hannah.
And I'm Ethan. When people talk about food, they usually talk about it in a very relaxed way.
That's true. Food is personal, but it's also something most people enjoy talking about.
Food connects to culture, family, habits, and feelings.
You might talk about food at work. You might talk about food with friends. You might even talk about food with people you just met.
That's what makes food such an easy topic, especially when your English is still growing.
Exactly. And the good news is, you don't need difficult words to talk about food.
Simple sentences are usually enough.
Let's start with something very common. Talking about food you like.
People often begin with short, clear sentences. For example, someone might say, "I like pizza."
Or, I really like pasta.
Those sentences are simple, but they sound very natural.
You can also make them a little longer if you want. You might say, I like pizza, especially on the weekend.
Or, "I really like pasta because it's filling."
Adding a small reason makes the sentence feel more complete.
But you don't need to explain everything.
You can keep it short and friendly.
Another thing people do is soften their sentences when they talk about food.
Instead of sounding strong or serious, they sound relaxed.
For example, instead of saying, "Pizza is my favorite food," you might hear, "I kind of like pizza."
Or, I usually go for pizza.
Those phrases sound more conversational.
They feel natural in daily life.
People also talk about food in situations.
They connect food to time or place.
Someone might say, "I like soup when it's cold."
Or, I usually eat salad for lunch.
Those sentences tell a small story.
They help the listener understand your habits.
And that's really what these conversations are about.
Sharing small pieces of your daily life.
Food conversations don't need to be exciting.
They just need to be real.
As you listen, notice how calm the pace is.
Notice how the sentences are not rushed.
People also talk about food when they talk about their daily routines. Food is part of everyday life, so it comes up very naturally in conversation.
That's right, Ethan. When people talk about their day, food is often part of the story, even if they don't think about it.
For example, someone might say, "I usually eat breakfast at home," or "I don't eat much in the morning."
Those sentences are simple, but they tell you something important about the person and how they start their day.
Yes, food routines are different for everyone. Some people like a big breakfast, and others prefer something very light.
You might hear someone say, I just have coffee in the morning. Or, I like eggs and toast for breakfast.
All of those sentences sound natural, and they are very common in daily English.
People also talk about food when they talk about lunch. Lunch is often connected to work or school.
Someone might say, "I usually eat lunch at work," or "I bring food from home."
You could also hear, I don't have much time for lunch. I like to eat something quick.
These sentences are not complicated, but they feel very real and very natural.
Food conversations are often about habits, not rules. People are not trying to sound perfect.
They are just sharing what they usually do, and that's what makes the conversation comfortable.
Another common way people talk about food is by comparing things. They talk about what they like more and what they like less.
For example, someone might say, "I like rice more than pasta." or I prefer tea over coffee.
Those sentences are very useful. You can use them in many different situations.
And you don't always need to explain why. Sometimes a simple preference is enough.
You might say, I prefer home-cooked food, and stop there. That sentence already feels personal.
People also talk about food when they talk about how they feel. Food and mood are often connected.
Someone might say, I like warm food when I'm tired. I don't feel like eating when I'm stressed.
Those sentences sound honest and calm. They don't sound dramatic. They just describe real feelings.
Food is also something people talk about when they want to relax together. Talking about food helps conversations feel easy.
If you're with friends, you might hear things like, I'm hungry. What do you feel like eating?
Those short questions are very common, and they often lead to longer, more relaxed conversations.
You don't need special words to join in. You can simply say, I'm not sure, or I'm open to anything.
As you listen, notice how simple the language is. Notice how people pause and respond naturally.
This is not special English. This is everyday English, and it's the kind of English you can use right away.
As you practice, remember that food conversations don't need to be perfect. They just need to feel comfortable. Listening often helps these sentences feel familiar, and with time, talking about food in English will start to feel natural and easy.
People also talk about food when they talk about making choices during the day. Deciding what to eat is something everyone does, and it often becomes part of casual conversation.
Sometimes the choice feels easy. Other times, people are not sure what they want.
You might hear someone say, I'm not sure what I feel like eating, or I think I want something light today.
Those sentences sound very natural. They don't sound rushed. They give the speaker time to think.
Yes, Hannah, people often talk about food while they are still deciding. The conversation helps them figure it out.
Someone might say, I don't want anything too heavy, or I think I want something warm.
These are not strong opinions.
Food conversations often sound like this because people want to stay relaxed. They are not trying to make a perfect choice. They are just talking things through.
Another common thing you'll hear is people talking about food and energy. They connect what they eat to how they feel.
For example, someone might say, I like something small in the afternoon. Usually want a bigger meal at night.
Those sentences are simple, but they say a lot. They tell you how that person feels at different times of the day.
And again, the language stays very clear. Short sentences, simple words.
Food is also something people talk about when they are with others. When people are together, food often becomes a shared decision.
You might hear questions like, do you want to eat now? Yes. Or, should we get something later?
Those questions invite the other person into the conversation. They make space for another opinion.
And it's okay if you don't have a strong answer. You don't need to decide right away.
You can say, I'm okay with whatever you want, or I don't really mind.
Those responses sound friendly and easy. They help keep the conversation calm.
Will, this is something many learners worry about. They think they need the perfect sentence.
But food conversations are very forgiving. People don't expect perfect grammar. They just want to understand how you feel.
You might also hear people talk about food when they talk about comfort. Food is often connected to emotions.
Someone might say, I like warm food when I'm tired. Or, I don't feel like eating much when I'm stressed.
These sentences sound honest. They sound real. They don't explain everything. They don't need to.
Food conversations work because they are simple and personal at the same time. They give you a way to share something about yourself without pressure.
As you listen, notice how often people pause when they talk about food. They take their time. They think. They respond naturally.
This is how everyday English sounds. It's calm, it's flexible, and it leaves room for the conversation to flow.
With practice, talking about food in English will start to feel easier. The sentences will feel familiar, and little by little, you'll feel more comfortable sharing your thoughts.
Food conversations are also common when people talk about plans for the day or the week. Someone might say, I'm thinking about cooking tonight, or I might eat out later.
These sentences sound casual and open. They don't lock anything in. They just share an idea.
Talking this way gives the other person a chance to respond. They might agree, they might suggest something else.
And that back and forth is what makes the conversation feel natural.
People often talk about food without even realizing it. It happens between other topics.
You might hear, I didn't eat much today, and I skipped lunch.
Those sentences are simple, but they add context to the conversation. They explain how someone feels or why they might be tired.
Food becomes part of the story of the day, not the main topic. And that's very common in everyday English.
Another thing to notice is how people rarely rush food conversations. There is usually time to think.
Someone might pause and then say, let me think for a second. Not sure yet.
Those pauses are normal. They give the speaker time, and they make the conversation feel relaxed.
You are allowed to pause too. Silence is part of natural conversation.
Over time, these small food conversations help build confidence. They give you practice with simple sentences that come up again and again.
The more you hear them, the more familiar they feel. And when something feels familiar, it feels easier to say.
Talking about food doesn't need to feel like practice. It can just feel like talking. And that's the goal of listening this way.
Food conversations also help people feel connected. Even simple sentences can make someone feel understood.
When you talk about what you eat, when you eat, or how you feel about food, you are sharing a small part of your life.
These small moments of sharing build comfort over time. They make conversations feel easier and more familiar.
Talking about food is not about being impressive. It's about being present. And that's something you can practice every day. As we come to the end of today's listening practice, it's helpful to slow down and notice how natural these food conversations feel.
Talking about food doesn't usually feel like practice in real life. It's something people do without planning or thinking very much about it.
That's right, Will. Food shows up in small moments throughout the day. Before work, during a break, while making plans, or when people are simply relaxing together.
And most of the time, the sentences are short and clear. People don't try to sound impressive. They just say what they feel.
You might hear someone say, I'm getting hungry, or I think I'll eat later. These sentences sound normal because they are normal.
Even saying, I don't know what I want yet, is part of everyday English. It shows thinking, it shows choice, and it keeps the conversation open.
One helpful thing to remember is that food conversations don't need strong opinions. You don't have to love or hate something to talk about it.
You can say things like, I usually like this, or I'm in the mood for something light. These phrases sound relaxed and friendly.
When you listen closely, you'll notice how often people pause while talking about food. They think for a moment. They adjust what they say.
Those pauses are natural. They are not mistakes. They give the conversation space to breathe.
You are allowed to pause too. You don't need to respond immediately. Silence is part of real conversation.
As you keep listening and practicing, these patterns will start to feel familiar. The words will come more easily.
And when something feels familiar, it feels less stressful. That's how confidence builds, little by little.
Food is a great topic for building that confidence because it's part of everyday life. Everyone eats. Everyone makes choices.
You don't need perfect grammar. You just need to be understood. And food conversations make that easier.
So keep listening. Keep noticing how people speak naturally. And let yourself relax into the rhythm of the language.
Take a moment to relax and enjoy what you learned today. You can come back and listen again whenever you want. Thank you for being part of Spoken English Daily.